Hey, um, it's Steve, and I recently stumbled upon conservapedia's list of counterexamples to evolution, and I'm just gonna go through these. Notice I'm a high school senior. I've never been to college, obviously, um, and I was able to find the vast majority of these false easily, so I'm just going to go through these and explain why each of these is wrong. Starting with logical examples here, it says, logical examples. 1. The annual rate of extinction of species far exceeds any plausible rate of generation of species. Expanding the amount of time for evolution to occur makes evolution less likely. First of all, this isn't true for the fact that extinction is greatly accelerated by the fact that we as humans are here and we are causing species to go extinct faster than ever, really. So that's blatantly false. Lack of genetic diversity among the Homo sapiens species. Were evolution and the old Earth true, the human population would show a much larger genetic variance. Okay, first of all, I need a reason for that. I don't really understand why that is so. Second, we share 50% of our genetics with bananas. I think it was bananas. So, if there were greater genetic variance, would we be humans at all? No. 3. Parsimonious repetition of design elements throughout creation, e.g. the eye's appearance in remarkably different species. For such complex structures to arise repeatedly via evolution is impossible, as evolution is an inherently random and historically contingent process. Okay, first of all, the reason so many species have eyes is because they evolved from a common ancestor which had eyes. And the reason that our eyes are so similar to, say, goats' eyes is because the first mammals had pretty similar eyes to us. If you notice, our eyes are very different from the eyes of, say, an insect. That's because their eyes evolved differently. They split farther back from us, so the eye was less evolved at that point, and that is why their eyes are different. Pleiotropy. The fact that a change of a single gene can have several different effects renders the improvement of animals by random mutation impossible, as any mutation with a potentially beneficial effect will be coupled with one or more potentially lethal effects. Okay, first of all, pleiotropy does not apply to every single gene that exists. If you change the color, or the gene that controls the color of the eye, you will not get an effect that will, say, give me heart attacks because I have a genetic disposition to have heart attacks. It doesn't work that way. Second of all, it says beneficial effect will be coupled with one or more potentially lethal effects. That's just BS. That's just something they made up to, make it seem bad. The development of feathers, which could not have conceivably grown from the scales of dinosaurs. Why couldn't they have? For evolution to be true, every male cat, dog, horse, elephant, giraffe, fish, and bird had to have coincidentally evolved with a female alongside it over billions of years, with fully involved compatible reproductive parts and a desire to mate. Otherwise, the species couldn't keep going. Okay, they didn't coincidentally evolve with a female alongside it. Sexual reproduction began... how far back was it? I'm not really sure how far back, but it began with sponges, which was near the beginning of life. That was when sexual reproduction began. And from that point on, most life has been sexual. That was a good... I'm guessing here when I say 3 billion years ago that sex evolved. That doesn't even make sense as an argument right there. There are no historical records of anyone directly observing one species. Okay, I'm going to stop right there. Look up ongoing E. coli experiments, and there's a species of mosquitoes that have split. Look up London train or subway mosquitoes. 8. If evolution were to explain where human beings came from, then every personality type should benefit human life. Okay, this is clearly untrue because the world is filled with liars, psychopaths, and murderers. These traits clearly do not benefit humanity. Okay, I'm trying to glean why they would think that every personality type should benefit human life. Does cannibalism benefit, any other animal life? Because there's lots of cannibals in the animal world, and that happens. That doesn't even really make sense as an argument. Why would evolution isn't a beneficiary thing. Just because you're evolving does not mean that you are going to be better. Natural selection does not imply that, well, it does not imply an order from inferior to superior as a species. That's not really worth even arguing about. Okay, how far am I into this? 5 minutes? Okay, I'll keep going. Lack of mechanism. Animals flee to high ground before a deadly tsunami hits their shoreline, defying any plausible materialistic explanation. Okay, a lot of animals have senses that we don't. For example, and this isn't really an example that would explain this, but sharks have electromagnetic sensors under their undersides. Birds have abilities to they can sense magnetic fields. How do you know that a cat isn't sensitive enough to feel the vibrations of an earthquake? And that's dumb. Mutations cause a loss of information, rendering it mathematically impossible for mutations to advance the complexity of life. Similarly, entropy disorder increases over time, making it impossible for order to increase on its own. Not even energy from the sun, which might otherwise reduce entropy in a system not thermodynamically isolated, such as the Earth, is capable of turning back the inexorable decline of our planet's collective genomes. It seems reasonable to infer, then, that the end times will come before or during the eventual collapse of the world's ecosystems that will come as a result of this irreversible deterioration. Okay, first of all, mutations don't cause a loss of information, they are a change in information. And rendering it mathematically impossible for mutations to advance the complexity of life. That's just not true. It's just a change in information, not a loss. Similarly, entropy disorder increases over time in a closed system, making it impossible for order to increase on its own, which it doesn't because we have energy from the sun, which is a lot of energy. Not even energy of the sun, which might otherwise reduce entropy in a system not thermodynamically isolated. Our system is not thermodynamically isolated. That's just a BS argument. Social insects such as bees, ants, termites, which have extremely ornate caste systems. Where an insect fits is determined by its diet when young. Evolution requires that the genetics for various castes, genetics for caste determination, and the genetics for behavior allowing caste determination all appeared simultaneously. No, it doesn't. If you think that, you don't know what evolution is. Evolution is change over time, not change all at once. The basic theory behind how bacterial life evolved into multicellular organisms is that colonies of bacteria grouped together, and over time, say there was a colony shaped like this, okay, there were bacteria lining it and bacteria in the middle, okay, say the ones outside had to deal with, getting food into the middle where they could all share it, okay, that is a description of how maybe we evolved the ability to eat as multicellular organisms. I don't know. I'm pretty sure that's not how it happened, but you get the idea. Anyway, ants and other social insects for at least two reasons. First, their complex social structure is evidence of intelligent design. Citation needed. Second, the overwhelming majority of individuals are workers and do not reproduce. They cannot perpetuate their genetic material as evolution requires. Okay, so the queen can pass on genetic material. I don't understand. Evolution cannot explain artistic beauty, such as the brilliant autumn foliage and staggering array of beautiful marine fish, both of which originated before any human to view them. This lacks any plausible evolutionary explanation, except that the beautiful foliage is a result of the decay of chloroplasts, and the fish evolved like that to attract mates. Let's see. Evolution cannot explain how beauty is in the eye of the beholder. Okay, beauty is subjective. It doesn't have any place in evolution in the first place. The fact that cicadas appear like clockwork every 13 years for some species and for every 17 years for others. That's just how they evolved. That's how long they're mating, or that's how long they hibernate and then they wake up and then mate and then die. That's just how they evolved. I don't know why they evolved that way. It's not beneficial for them to have evolved that way, but they evolved that way. That's just how it happened. Well, I'm running close on 9 minutes and 35 seconds, so I'm going to stop this video, and I will continue it in another video, so go watch that one.